Have you ever wondered how a man as notorious as Al Capone rose to power in the underworld? It's a tale that begins in the bustling city of New York in the year 1899, where Alphonse Capone was born to Italian immigrants. A city of dreams and opportunities, yet for young Al, it would be the breeding ground for a life of infamy. Known to many simply as Scarface, Capone was not always the feared boss of the Chicago outfit. His journey into the world of crime began at a tender age, on the mean streets of New York. There, as a teenager, he became entangled with the notorious 5 Points gang, a crucial stepping stone that would shape the course of his life. It was during the tumultuous years of the Prohibition era that Capone truly found his calling. As the production, sale, and transportation of alcohol were banned, the demand for it skyrocketed, and the underworld seized the opportunity. It was amidst this chaos that Capone, with his ruthless ambition and cunning mind, began to emerge as a force to be reckoned with. Moving to Chicago in his early 20s, Capone quickly became a trusted associate of Johnny Torrio, the head of a criminal syndicate deeply involved in the illegal distribution of alcohol. His reputation grew, as did his influence, and it wasn't long before he was recognized as a major player in the criminal underworld. However, it was his conflict with the Northside Gang that truly propelled Capone into the limelight. This feud fueled his ascent to power, eventually leading to Torrio handing over control of the Chicago outfit to him. And so, with the reins of one of the most powerful criminal organizations in his hands, Capone embarked on a reign that would etch his name into the annals of crime history. And this was just the beginning of the notorious life of Al Capone. What brought Capone to Chicago, the city that would become synonymous with his name? The answer lies in the early 20s, when Al Capone, then a young man brimming with ambition, made the decisive move from New York City to Chicago. This move was not random, but a calculated decision to join forces with a certain Johnny Torrio, a name that was already echoing in the underworld of Chicago. Johnny Torrio, the head of a notorious criminal syndicate, was deeply entwined in the illegal alcohol distribution business, a lucrative venture during the Prohibition era. Seeing potential in the young Capone, Torrio took him under his wing. This association marked the beginning of Capone's ascendancy in the world of organized crime. Capone was not just a member of Torrio's syndicate, but a trusted associate, proving his worth with his cunning mind and unwavering loyalty. However, the path to power wasn't without its hurdles. The Northside Gang, a formidable rival, posed a significant threat to Torrio's operations. The conflict between the two factions was fierce, and the stakes were high. But every conflict brings an opportunity, and this one was no different. The tension with the Northside Gang reached a boiling point, resulting in a violent confrontation that left Torrio severely wounded. The incident shook Torrio to his core, prompting him to make a decision that would change the course of Chicago's criminal landscape forever. He handed over the reins of his criminal empire to his most trusted associate, Al Capone. Capone, now at the helm, wasted no time in asserting his dominance. He expanded the bootlegging business, using violent means to quash any opposition and reinforce his power. His ruthless methods and strategic alliances with key figures, including Mayor William Hale Thompson and the Chicago Police Department, solidified his position at the top. And so, the reign of Al Capone in Chicago began. His rise to power was a tale of ambition, alliances, and audacious tactics, a journey that transformed an ambitious young man into the notorious gangster known as Scarface. Indeed, Capone's name and the city of Chicago would forever be intertwined in the annals of American crime history. What made Capone's reign so powerful and yet so dangerous? Well, it was a cocktail of violence, cunning, and a knack for making the right alliances. His rule was marked by an aggressive expansion of the bootlegging business, a trade that flourished under the Prohibition era's dry laws. But Al Capone wasn't just any bootlegger. He was the kingpin, ruling his empire with an iron fist. His method was simple: use violence to intimidate competition and anyone who dared to stand in his way. The streets of Chicago became a battlefield, with Capone's men enforcing his law. His notorious reputation was built on blood and fear, a chilling reminder of the lengths he would go to maintain his power. But violence wasn't his only weapon. Capone was a master manipulator, expertly navigating the murky political waters of the time. he forged a mutually beneficial relationship with Mayor William Hale Thompson and the Chicago Police Department. This alliance offered him protection and allowed his illicit operations to thrive. Capone's influence had seeped into every corner of Chicago, from the dark alleyways to the corridors of power. However, his reign wasn't without its blemishes. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929 was a turning point. 7 members of Chicago's North Side gang were brutally gunned down, an act of violence so gruesome it shocked the city and the nation. Though Capone was never officially linked to the massacre, public opinion turned against him. He was now seen not just as a gangster but as public enemy number one. His image, once that of a ruthless but respected leader, was now tarnished with the brush of unchecked brutality. But even the most powerful can fall, and Capone was no exception. His violent reign, his alliances, and his ruthless ambition had brought him to the pinnacle of power, but they would also lead to his downfall. But that's a story for another time. How did public enemy number one fall from grace? This question has intrigued many crime enthusiasts and historians alike. The downfall of Al Capone, the notorious gangster, was not at the hands of his rivals but the result of his own missteps. Al Capone, the notorious gangster and businessman, had been living a life of opulence and power, but all that was about to change. In the early 30s, Capone found himself on the wrong side of the law, not for his violent crimes or his bootlegging empire, but for tax evasion. It might seem surprising that a man who had built his empire on illegal activities would fall for something as mundane as not paying taxes, but that was the reality. The US government had been watching Capone for a long time, but it was difficult to pin anything on him due to his ties with powerful politicians and law enforcement officials. However, when it came to light that Capone had been evading taxes, the government finally had the evidence they needed to bring him down. In 1931, Capone was charged with tax evasion. The trial was a spectacle, with Capone's flamboyant personality on full display. However, the evidence against him was overwhelming, and he was convicted. The judge sentenced him to 11 years in prison, a sentence unheard of at the time for tax evasion. Capone's time in prison was harsh. He spent his days in the infamous Alcatraz, isolated from the outside world. The once powerful gangster was now just another inmate. His health, already deteriorating before his conviction, took a turn for the worse in prison. He suffered from various ailments, including syphilis, which led to neurological complications. The man who was once the most feared criminal in America was released after almost 8 years, a shadow of his former self. His health continued to deteriorate, and he died in 1947, a far cry from the powerful figure he once was. And so ended the reign of Al Capone, but not his legacy. The story of Capone's rise and fall serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the inevitable consequences of a life of crime. His downfall was not brought about by a rival gang or a bullet, but by his own actions and the relentless pursuit of justice by the law. His story continues to fascinate us, a testament to the enduring allure of the criminal underworld. What legacy did Al Capone leave behind? Well, the answer to that is as layered and complex as the man himself. Al Capone, also known as Scarface, was more than just a notorious gangster. He was a symbol of an era. In the annals of American history, Capone holds a unique place. He is remembered as a criminal mastermind who gained notoriety during the Prohibition era. His name has become synonymous with organized crime, and his life story serves as a stark reminder of a tumultuous time in our nation's past when the law and the underworld were often indistinguishable. Capone's impact on American culture cannot be overstated. His life and crimes have inspired countless books, movies, and television shows. Characters based on him have become staples of gangster cinema, contributing to the enduring fascination with the mob life. His story has been told and retold, each time adding to the legend that is Al Capone. But beyond the pop culture references and media portrayals, Capone's legacy is also a testament to the failures of the Prohibition era. His rise to power was fueled by the illegal alcohol trade, exposing the flaws in the system that sought to enforce moral standards through legislation. Capone's empire, built on the demand for what the law denied the public, highlighted the contradictions of the time. Despite his criminal activities, some view Capone as a kind of twisted folk hero. He was a product of his environment, a man who exploited the opportunities that came his way. He was a businessman, albeit one who operated outside the law. To some, Capone represents the dark side of the American dream, a man who rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most powerful figures in the country. However, it is important to remember that Capone's life was not one to be romanticized. He was a violent man, responsible for countless crimes and the suffering of many. His story serves as a cautionary tale, a stark warning against the glorification of crime and the pursuit of power at any cost. And so, Al Capone, a man of many faces, a gangster, a businessman, a public enemy, continues to live on in the pages of history.